Hi guys, welcome back to my Flosstube channel. I am Sarah, otherwise known as Little Snips, and this is episode number 4. I can't believe that I'm still doing videos. Honestly, as I mentioned in another video, I'm kind of a magpie. I'm distracted by shiny things. So the fact that this is episode number 4 says good things about my willpower so far. Hopefully I'll keep it up. If you notice, I actually added something to my hand, so you guys have something else to look at other than my still less than ideal fingernails. This is my, obviously, snake ring. In one of my other lives, I am actually a snake breeder. I promise. Don't worry, I'm not going to bring any snakes onto Flosstube. I know some people are a little squeamish about them, and so I'm not going to force you to look at something that would make you uncomfortable. I happen to think snakes are pretty cool, but I guess that goes without saying since I breed them. But I figured something else on my hand might be nice to distract from when I'm just talking, like now. Some people have mentioned that I might want to try putting puppets or drawing faces on my hands, because as I have been called, as I will mention later, I have been called the talking hands. I don't think I'm going to do puppets on my hands. But other people have suggested henna, Mendy, and I might do that because I do like henna and Mendy designs, and I'd love to actually wear them. I just haven't had the opportunity. Sorry, my hand's dirty. Haven't had the opportunity to get that done yet, but if I do, obviously you're going to see it. So let me do a couple of shout outs real quick before we get started. In their most recent, well, maybe not most recent, but in recent videos, both Kate, the Queen of Starts, and Joe Gregoire have mentioned me, have mentioned my little channel. And I cannot tell you, well, I can't tell you how far my mouth hung open because I wasn't expecting that at all. But I also can't tell you how honored and honestly flattered I am that they took the time out to do that. I know that some people do call that new Flosstube channels, but you know, it's always nice to hear your work being mentioned. So, yay! Thank you, both of you, for doing that. I will link their channels down there in the comments, so if you don't watch them already, you can find them. I'm kind of surprised if you're not watching them already and you do watch Flosstube, because we all love them, but I will link them. I also wanted to call some attention to a new Flosstuber. Her name is Glee. She goes by Gleeza on Instagram, and I follow her there, and I really enjoy her posts. She made an initial Flosstube video and isn't sure whether she's going to continue to make them. Sort of like we're all a little bit nervous when we make our first videos. So I wanted to encourage you guys to go and check her out and look at her projects and, you know, try to help me encourage her to make more videos and join the community, because I think she's pretty awesome so far, and I liked the video, and I think you guys might like it too. I will, again, link her down below in the comments so you can find her. You will notice, if you have watched other videos, that this is a little bit of a different angle. The lighting is a little more shadowy, so I apologize for that. The angle is a little bit different. I'm constantly trying to find the best way to do this, since you don't get to see my face, to try to make things interesting and let you be able to see English, to see as much of my projects as you possibly can. So, I noticed that from this angle, the camera tends to want to refocus a little bit more than it does from other angles. I hope that doesn't make anybody sick or make you uncomfortable. I will try to keep that to a minimum as much as possible. But it's the camera. I can't really control all of what it does. I'll do my best, though. So, if you are a new viewer of my Flosstube channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for taking the time out to check out somebody new, to stop and spend a little time with me. I do appreciate it. If you are coming back, welcome back. I have not been on top of my comments, particularly from my last video, but I know there have been a couple posted to older videos as well, and I haven't gone in and responded to them. It is not because I don't like you. It's not because I haven't seen them. I have, and I appreciate every single comment that you guys leave. I just haven't had the time to go back and answer them, but I will. I promise you that I will. I will go back, and if there are questions, I'll answer questions, or just, you know, say hi. I think if you're going to take the time to leave a comment, I think it's nice to have a response to that, not to feel like you're shouting into the void, basically. Because you're not. I know you're doing it, and I appreciate the fact that you're doing it. What you are not here to do is to listen to me ramble about things that are not related to stitching, right? So, without further ado, let me go and get my stitching. I need to figure out a better way to insert pictures and things like that. My video editor is very simple and kind of clunky and doesn't make inserting pictures easy. But, that said, I will insert a picture of what this is supposed to look like. If you've watched my videos before, you know what it looks like, but I, again, lost the cover picture, so I can't just slip it in here. Anyway, this is my Hope Cardinal. If you remember from the last video, I thought I had done more work than I did, and I had a actually kind of pathetic amount of change from the time before to that one. This time I've actually done a good bit of work. I mean, you can see that the cardinal is actually starting to take shape here. The branch is there. You can see the bones of the words hope, which will be backstitched to be completed. And I think, I'm actually pretty convinced that I can get this finished by the end of the month. It's up in rotation very soon, and I should be able to get at least a significant chunk of this done this week. And this is going to go, this is another thing that was meant to go to my mother, so I think I can get that finished and get that sent off to her. Interestingly, on the pattern, there is another color that goes into the center of the bird, which you would expect. It's not supposed to be an outline of a cardinal, right? But on the pattern, the symbol for this is very faint, and I missed it for the first, I don't know, dozen times that I looked at the pattern, and I was trying to figure out why it would be just the outline of a bird. Well, it's not, that's why. But the choice that they made in the symbol for the color that goes in here is bizarre, because if you're not looking really closely, you will never see it. I showed it to my husband and he couldn't see it at all. So, but this will be done very soon. It will be a finish, I hope, for 2016, which would be nice. And I can move on to other things. But there you go. That's the progress on the cardinal. And when I bring out the cardinal, you know I follow it with the Santa snow globe. This is what the finished project is going to look like. And this, ow, sorry, knocked the light. This is where I am. So you'll notice that I put the white in. The white on the snow globe is in, the white on Santa is in, and I got some of the red done as well. This, again, is a project that I think I will be able to finish by the end of the year. I'm almost certain that I'll be able to finish it by the end of the year. This one does not have a destination necessarily. I don't have a plan for this one exactly like I do with the cardinal, but it's coming along and I think it's really cute. I mean, I just think it's cute. Santa on his bike with my little Mickey Mouse snowman needle minder, which I made myself. It didn't come from anybody else, though I think probably other people have it, but that is where the Santa snow globe is for this week. And what did I work on next? Right. Keeping these things in order is kind of tricky sometimes, you know? Anyway, if you recall the gift I was working on for my aunt, it's Let's Garden by Ursula Michael. And I do have the pattern cover sheet, but I left it in its project holder at the moment, and so I don't really want to go dig for it, so I'm not going to show you what it's going to look like when it's finished. You have seen it before, or if you haven't, I'm sure you can look it up. But this is where I am this week, this episode, on this project. Last time I showed you, I think I had only done the green, so I had finished all of the green and backstitched the designs and the lettering and all of that thing. So this time, obviously, I've put the red in. Now this, in the pattern, is supposed to be a uniform color of red. I used, I don't remember the number, I used a red variegated DMC to do the letters, and you can't really tell that they're variegated. I mean, it didn't variegate that much, but that's fine. It didn't need to be dramatic. And then, obviously, I backstitched the letters that have been filled in, and I'm now working on doing the design that's just backstitch of these flowers down here and this little tiny flower here. But, so this is where I am. There are 3 or 4 more colors to go in this. I'm really hoping I can get this done for Christmas-ish. Whether I will actually get this finished and framed and sent off to my aunt in time for actual Christmas, I don't know. But close to Christmas will make me happy. The partner piece to this, which was Let's Fish, or Let's Go Fishing. Is it Let's Fish? It's either Let's Fish or Let's Go Fishing. I don't remember which. For my uncle, has not been started at all. So his is going to have to wait until a random gift time. I mean, I'm going to do that after I finish this one, so I'm not going to wait until next Christmas or anything, but it's definitely not going to make it to a Christmas present for this year. But that's fine. Christmas or presents don't have to be only at specific times of the year. They can be any time of the year as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, that is where I am on Let's Garden by Ursula Michael. The next piece that I worked on is the Tablecloth of Doom. If you are not a repeat viewer of my channel, I have this project that my mother asked me to do because she found a kit at a yard sale. It is a tablecloth. I hate it. Well, I don't hate the tablecloth for being a tablecloth. I hate it for the quality of the material and so on and so forth. I've complained about it a lot in other episodes, so I'm not going to complain that much now. I'm just going to say I finished the second bird. Yay! So obviously this is the new bird and the branches and flowers are done. As I mentioned in my last episode, I decided not to do the backstitching on these because the backstitching is done on these flowers and you really can't tell the difference. I didn't do the backstitching on the bird. I don't think that would make that much difference either. The leaves and branches are not meant to be backstitched. But I don't think that the backstitching does anything to make the pattern any clearer, any prettier, anything like that. And this fabric is so wonky that I really don't feel like taking the time to do it. I don't think it makes a difference, so I'm not going to do it. But as many of you have said, yes, the pattern is really cute. The birds are really cute. There is another bird that goes over here, which I will show you some progress on hopefully next time. I haven't done any of that yet. The most frustrating part about this, I think, other than what I've complained about before, but the most frustrating part is that once I've finished this pattern, meaning once I've put the other bird in, there are 3 more sides. I have to do this exact same pattern all over again on the other 3 sides. This was originally going to be, or I was hoping to do this as a Christmas present for my mother. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I get so frustrated by working on this that I can't work on it for long stretches of time. So this will end up being, I don't know, a spring gift. I mean, it's got birds. It can be a spring present, right? It'll be a spring gift. It'll be a Mother's Day present. I don't know. She'll get it eventually, and she'll get it. It will be done in 2017 for sure, and it will be sent to her in 2017 for sure. But when exactly I'm going to send that off, I do not know. I like the little, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. There you go. I like the little needle minder, though. She flies with her own wings. Again, I mentioned in another episode that I haven't purchased any needle minders. I just make these on my own. But I really like that little saying. And it's appropriate for my mom. It's appropriate for the project. So, there it is. Anyway, the dread tablecloth. As it goes. What's next? What's next is... light, please don't fall over. Like I said, I'm messing with the setup here, guys, so I apologize for the shadows and the wobbly lights and things like that. I know it can be a little frustrating. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for putting up with all of my weird changes and the strange things that I do. The next project is my current Haid, the only Haid I'm working on at the moment. Oh, it's crooked. This is the Dragon Knot Revised by Stephanie. Every time I start to say her name, I don't want to say it because I don't want to butcher her name. It's by Stephanie Puimin Law, I think. I apologize if that's not the way you pronounce her name. I don't mean to offend anybody by butchering it. Anyway, I had to restart this. So I showed you, I think, maybe last episode, maybe the episode before, that I had almost finished a page. It's only a partial page, and this is not a full coverage piece, meaning it doesn't have a background. It just has the design of the knot. I showed you that I had basically finished a piece, and I was having some issues about how I was going to stitch it. I completely restarted it. I took it out, and this is where I am now. This is still the first page, still the first partial page, but I've completed all of the black, and let me tell you, there is a lot of black in this episode, in this pattern, which is fine. I knew that when I purchased it, I knew that when I started it, so it's not like this is a surprise or anything. But I did a lot of stitching, spent a lot of time stitching, and it doesn't look like that much because it's basically only one color. There are a couple other colors up here and occasional stitches scattered throughout, as with any Haid. I did do some confetti work first, but the majority of this page is black, but it's now finished. So I can go on to fill in the rest of the shape and then move on to page 2. I might be able to do this or finish the fill-in with my next session of stitching on it. And I should probably insert a picture of what this looks like here. Again, like I was saying, I need to figure out a better way to insert pictures. So I may go back and insert pictures of the other projects as well. It depends on how I feel about taking the time to do that. Anyway, this is the Dragon Knot. It is the only Haid I'm working on right now, and this is a project that I am working on for my husband because he really likes dragons. Again, I have discovered that I seriously underestimate the amount of time that it takes me to stitch. I said before that I'm a very slow stitcher, and that hasn't changed, but I have underestimated how much time it's going to take me to do things. I honestly thought that I might be able to get this done, if not by Christmas, and that was just something that I had to throw away immediately when I started stitching this because it's just going to take way too much time for that. But for my husband's birthday, which is at the end of January, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen either. I'm definitely going to keep working on it, but I'm guessing if I get this finished in a year, it'll maybe be a Christmas present for next year for him. We'll see. We'll have to see how it goes. I might pick up speed, who knows. Anyway, that's where I am on my Haid. And next, I am, if you guys did not know, if you are not repeat viewers, I am one of those who fell for and is doing Death by Cross Stitch. And this is where I am on my Death by Cross Stitch right now. So this is, I think last time I had finished the third or most of the third column. So that was the top, I had finished the second row of the first page and finished part of the third row of the first page, which I think was about probably to the edge of this burst of light from the unicorn's horn. Obviously, I have finished now the third row, and I have started on the fourth. And I am working on this in rows as opposed to columns, because I know sometimes when people work in columns, they get the odd little ridge that goes down the center, and I didn't want to do that. I don't know if working in rows will fix that, but that's what I'm doing. I am working on, this is a 28 count even weave fabric. The color that I'm using is DMC 400 because I really like that sort of reddish brown color. I am not going to do multiple colors. I'm only doing the one color. And I love this. I love this pattern. I love this pattern so much that I really want to go and do like a dozen more Long Dog. This is by Long Dog Samplers. And I want to do a dozen more Long Dog samplers. I have them in wish lists and I really want to buy them right now. I am making myself behave and I'm not doing that. But I love her patterns and this one in particular. She came out with a new one this year, which is called Castles in the Air, which you may have seen other people talking about. Oh my gosh, I want to do that one too. But again, I'm behaving. It's hard, but I'm making myself behave. So I told you guys that I am not really a stitch-along person. Again, slow. So I'm not really a stitch-along person. I expected not to join any stitch-alongs. Oh, you designers, you're making that tough on me. You're making that really hard on me. You guys recognize this, I'm sure, from the circle frame at the very least, if you haven't already seen other people's December installments of the Lakeside Needlecraft Fantasy Stitch Along. This is my start on December. December is a fairy who is wearing a cute little knitted cap and scarf and has a bird in her hand and a present in the other. These are her boots. Obviously, I haven't gotten that far in stitching it. I did put the border in. I did do this particular circle. I need to, once I finish the fairy, I have to go and finish more of the frame. At the very least, put the circle in for January. And I love this. This is, it's again a 28 count, even weave fabric. I just decided to go with the undyed antique white color because of the purples and blues in the pattern. I think that it will look best without having to compete for color with the background fabric. So, this is where I am on the Lakeside Needlecraft sampler. No, again, I'm being made a liar. When I said I wasn't going to be a stitch-along stitcher, I've been turned into a liar already. Obviously, I am participating late in the game in the fantasy sampler. I have already signed up for the Under the Sea for 2017, and I have the fabric, which I will show you in a little bit. I am going to participate in the Happily Ever After stitch-along from Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. And there are a couple more that I want to do too. I know some of you know that Clouds Factory has released their 2017 stitch-along information, which is Fantastic Women in History, I believe. And I really, really want to do that stitch-along. There is also a dragon stitch-along, and I cannot remember the name of the company, and I'm so sorry. It just literally just slipped out of my brain. I want to say it's Imaginarium, but I think that's a Haid pattern name. Anyway, it's Imagine something. I will put a link in the notes to talk about what that is, and you guys can go and check it out. But it's basically a gemstone dragon for every month of 2017. We are big dragon people in this house. We're fantasy people in general, but we're big dragon people, and I don't know if I can resist because dragons. Anyway, if I get into all of those, that will be four stitch-alongs when I said I wasn't going to do any. Plus, there are other things I want to do, so I don't know. You stitchers and designers and floss tubers and enablers. You're all enablers. I'm kidding, I don't blame you. It's not your fault that I have no willpower, it's mine. Anyway, the Lakeside Needlecraft Fantasy Sampler. This is a December globe. There you go. And last but not least, though I think it's probably the least progress that I have, and it's going to be the hardest one to see because it is gray thread on a white background. It does help that there is shadow. Pardon me. It helps that there's shadow, so the camera picks it up. But anyway, this is Hufflepuff by Stitchering. I bought this for a friend of mine who is a big Harry Potter fan and is a Hufflepuff, as sorted by the sorting hat anyway. Obviously, I haven't gotten a lot done. This is, I think this is, yeah, it is. I know it is. This is 762, one of the most popular grays, but it's gray on undyed white fabric. So it doesn't stand out a lot, and there's not a lot of it. But this is where I am on the Hufflepuff pattern. And again, this is something that I can show on Flosstube that I can't show on Instagram, which, by the way, If you want to follow me on Instagram, I have updated my Instagram account name so that it sort of reflects my Flosstube account. I am Lil Snips, Lilsnips on Instagram, and I'll link that as well if you're interested. But my friend follows me on Instagram. She does not watch Flosstube videos, but she does check out my Instagram, so I can't put that there. So if you want to see progress on this particular pattern, you will have to follow, or you will have to come back and see how it goes. And that, my friends, is everything that I'm working on. I said last episode that I had decided, I'd made the decision to, sorry, I'm doing like shadow puppets over here. I've made the decision to only work on 8 things at a time. Again, because I don't stitch as quickly as some people do, even though I've been stitching a lot lately, which has to do with the magpie thing. I get focused and I work on one thing for a very long time, and then something happens and I get bored and I stop doing it. But I've been stitching a lot recently, so I'm stitching faster than I normally do, but I'm not a fast stitcher, and if I start too many things, or I try to work on too many things in constant rotation, nothing will get done. There will be no progress on anything, and that will bore me. That will bore you. Nobody wants that to happen. So, 8 things in rotation, and I've just showed you the 8 that I have in rotation right now. So I don't really have room to add anything else, despite the temptation to do the stitch-alongs, like I just said. Despite the plans that I have to do other things in 2017, I'm not letting myself do that, or trying not to let myself do that, unless I have room in my rotation. Stitch-alongs are going to make that tough. But I may have to set that aside and say stitch-alongs are their own separate category. I don't know. I'll work it out somehow. Anyway. Sorry for the silence there. My brain shut down and I didn't know what I was going to say. Having only 8 things in rotation does not stop me from acquiring things, however. So, I have bought a few more patterns. Now, these are patterns that some of them I had plans for already. Some just happened to grab my fancy and I bought them, and we all know how that goes. So the first 2 I bought back when Black Friday sales and Cyber Monday sales and things like that were happening. I bought a couple of Satsuma Street patterns because she had a discount. And I had been looking at a few of them and I figured, why not? So the first one I bought is Pretty Little Washington, D.C. I like her cities. And I went to college in Washington, D.C., so this means something to me personally. I also have a friend who is currently living in Washington, D.C., who I would really like to make a gift. So I'm planning on making this for her in 2017, assuming I can get to it in my rotation. I'm going to do my best to make it happen. I know there are a few people who have decided, if not before, then recently, that they are no longer stitching for other people, that they have made enough gifts, they have given away enough of their time and their hard work to people who probably appreciate it, but in some cases may not, and that they are stitching only for themselves. I am still stitching gifts, and I recognize the fact that it takes a lot of time to make things for people and that they may not always appreciate it, but I think the people who I am giving gifts to will appreciate it and do appreciate the gifts that they've been given. So I am still trying to slot things in there for me to work on for myself, but I'm still giving gifts. So this will be a gift. The other one I got was Pretty Little Los Angeles. My husband is from Los Angeles. He's a Los Angeles native, so this means something to him. We still have family down in Los Angeles, so I figured I would do this. This will probably end up being a gift as well, either for him or for one of the relatives. So anyway, another Satsuma Street, one of her cities. She has Pretty Little San Francisco, and I thought about getting that one as well because that's closer to where I live now. Maybe in the future. I do like the little city series, though. And then the other one that I got is something that I don't remember what made me think about this. other than it was the whole idea that I want to do some Joan Elliott patterns in the new year, and some of them are the Indian Maiden and Native American Maiden and things like that. I mentioned that I am very fond of Native American art and am planning on doing more decorating in that style in my house. For whatever reason, I went looking for Kokopele patterns because I really like Kokopele, and I came across this one, the Kokopele Sampler by Sarah Mullen. It's an artsy pattern. Look at this thing. Look at this. How cute is Kokopele? The three of them. There is another sampler that is a companion piece to this that did not move me as much as this one does, but I really think this is cute. I don't know when this is going to get stitched. I don't know if it will even get started in 2017. I would like it to. I would like to have this done so I could put it on my wall, but I don't have any concrete plans. I just liked the pattern. I really think it's cute. And this is, it should be noted, this is a full coverage piece. So from corner to corner, that's all stitched. So I will probably put that on an undyed piece of fabric because I kind of feel like stitching full coverage pieces on dyed fabric is kind of silly. If you're not going to see the fabric, then what's the point? So that's all of the patterns that I bought, which is pretty tame for me recently. I've been seriously enabled by Flosstube, and so the fact that I have only bought 3 patterns since the last time I talked to you is, yay, it's a good thing. I actually do still have some self-control. I also bought, I had a chance to run to my local-ish needlework shop, and we got there right before it closed, and so I didn't want to make her stay open longer than she normally would have, so I picked up a few packets of Petite Treasure braid because she has the entire collection, and I wanted to see what it was like to work with. And then I promptly misplaced the bag that had the treasure braid in it. It's somewhere in my needlework stand, and I can't find it. So you guys have seen it before. It's not like you're going to be disappointed, I'm sure, that you can't see another display of treasure braid, but I did buy some of that. I mentioned that I had signed up for the Lakeside Needlecraft Under the Sea Stitch Along for 2017. I did not buy the kit because I can buy the floss myself, and I have bought the floss myself already. But I did buy the fabric because the fabric is kind of unique. In that, and this is the fabric, and I don't think I'm going to spoil anybody by showing this because other people have gotten the fabric, and yeah, so I don't feel bad about showing you this. But this is the fabric for it is a gradient, so I don't know, I'm not sure that my lighting is going to let you see that really well, and it doesn't actually go the way I'm unfolding the fabric, which doesn't help. The gradient actually goes this way, so it's lighter up here, and then it gets into this darker aqua down at the bottom. And it has the pattern of ripples on it, so it's meant to look like water. Now, I may be mistaken. I thought that the sampler was, again, like the fantasy sampler, I thought that it was longer than it is wide. But I may be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, because the fabric that I got is, the gradient goes widthwise, well, you can kind of see it here, light to dark. It goes widthwise as opposed to lengthwise. So that's going to be interesting if the pattern runs contrary to that. But I'm not upset. I like this fabric. I think this fabric is very interesting. It's Fabric Flare is the company that made the fabric, I believe, and it's printed. So I'll show you. The pattern and the color is all on the front. The back is completely unprinted. So obviously, if you want to stitch on the printed fabric, you can only use one side, which is fine. I have never seen printed cross-stitch fabric before, so this is new for me and interesting to me. It actually has a border. Where is it? What's it say? Sorry, guys. Yeah, so it actually says lakesideneedlecraft.com. Under the Sea, I mean, exclusive fabric. So it's all printed, and it's printed specifically, obviously, for the stitch along, which I think is interesting. I'm curious to see how this works out. But like I said, that's one of the 4 that I'm really interested in participating in next year. And I was going to leave that there just for interest, but I have some other fabric to show you. Now, I have told you that I was a dyer. I still am. I dye yarn and fiber for spinning and knitting and that kind of thing. And that means that I have plenty of dye and plenty of interest in exploring dyeing fabric. I've showed you a couple pieces before. I have some more fabric to show you. Aren't you happy? The first one I wanted to show you is this one. Now, wow, that looks really busy. That looks really busy on camera. This is a piece of 18 count Aida that I dyed, and I really like this. It turned out exactly the way I wanted it to turn out. It did not in the initial dye, so I had to over dye it, but I actually like my marbly fabric with its blues and browns, and I think it looks, I kind of call it in my head, I call it Earth and Sky, because I like the fact that you get the brown and the blue, and it's sort of big blue marbly to me. It might be too busy for some people. I don't know. What do you think? Would you be able to stitch on something like this? This side is not the side that, there is actually sort of a blank space, if you can tell. Not a blank space, but less busy space right there in the middle that I think you could stitch on, and then it would be surrounded by the marbled background. So yeah, I like it. I think it turned out really nicely. Again, some people might think it's a little busy, but that's okay. Everybody's taste is their own, and you're not required to like everything that somebody else likes. I just think it turned out really cool. I dyed another piece, and this is a piece of 28 count even weave. And this one, initially, I did not like the way this turned out. And the lighting is going to make this look really weird. So you probably won't appreciate the fact you guys don't get to see the full effect of this fabric. Sorry. And there's like little fluffs on it, and yeah, nothing is ever perfect when you want it to be, right? Anyway, it's a piece of 28 count even weave. It's a peach, like a peachy rose color sort of, with these little areas where there's pinks and oranges and some yellows. And when I dyed this, I didn't like the way it turned out. The more I look at it, the more I like it though. It's sort of a sunrise color, and again, I think that stitching something on this would be really pretty. Whether I will stitch something on it, I don't know, but I think it turned out really nicely. My fabric is dyed on both sides, so I don't have the ability to print fabric. So when I dye fabric, there is color on both sides. And then obviously you, me, whoever the stitcher happens to be, would have to choose what side they wanted the stitching to go on. And the reason I say you, me, whoever the stitcher might be, is I am again considering offering dyed fabric. It would be one-off fabric, so I don't have plans to do mass amounts of fabric. I wouldn't do a fabric of the month club or anything like that. But individual pieces of fabric dyed either to custom color suggestions or dyed by my whim and then sold to whoever feels like that fabric calls to them is something that I might do and that I'm interested in doing. I am showing you examples of what I do to see if there's interest in what I do. I know that there are already fabric dyers out there, but you know, this is fun for me. I think that this is the kind of thing that I would like to do and at least share a little bit if people are interested. I have one more piece, and this is a piece of fabric that I showed you before. This is a piece of 28 count opalescent Lugana. that I got from my local needlework store that I wanted to use for the January chart from Cross-Eyed Cricket, the Cricket collection, sorry, that I plan to do in January. Now this, again, with the lighting, it's going to be tough. I mean, you can see the sparkle. The sparkle is really pretty. It's going to be tough to see the color on this because I dyed this very specifically in a frosty blue-violet, and then I went back and put the white in it as well, so it kind of looks like a snowstorm. And you guys, the camera is not going to do this justice. I mean, the light's going to wash it out. But this is absolutely, there's a better representation of the color on it. I love this fabric. Like, I don't want to brag. I don't want it to sound like I'm bragging, but I think I did a really good job on this particular dye job. And yeah, there is a splotch of purple there, which is fine. I don't mind that, but I really love the way that this turned out, and I'm excited to stitch on it. I also am currently really in love with opalescent fabric. I want all of the opalescent fabric, and I want to dye all of my colors on opalescent fabric now. But so there you can see a little bit. I mean, it's not a dark color, but the point was not to dye a dark color. The point was to give a background so that the stitching would stand out on it. And I think this is going to be beautiful. But anyway, ramble. This is an example of the kind of stuff that I do. And so if you think that you might be interested in fabric that's dyed like this, or in the things that I've showed you before, the purple piece of Ada, or the green piece of Ada that I showed in an earlier episode, let me know. Leave a comment down there. I may set up a Facebook group to do that, to sell pieces of fabric. I will obviously, if I do that, I will mention it in a future episode, and I will link it in the comments below. But let me know what you think. I mean, if this kind of thing interests you, then say something. It would be nice to have some feedback. Okay. What else do I have to talk about? I made a list of things, and I think I probably forgot most of it. So 1 second. Let me check. You're going to hear paper rustle. I apologize about that. Oh, speaking of Facebook groups, and speaking of the Cross-Eyed Cricket collection, I asked a question in Stitch Mania a while ago about whether or not there is a Cross-Eyed Cricket collection fan Facebook group. I was all set to start one, and then I discovered that there was one. It took a while to be added to the group, but it does exist. There are posts being made in there actively right now. It's not super busy. There's not a lot of chatter going on, but it does exist. So again, I will link that in the comments or in the notes. So if you guys are interested in joining the, for people who are interested in stitching the Cricut collection patterns, which I'm apparently a big freaky fan of, if you're interested in joining that group, I will link it below so you guys can find it and join it too. The other thing I wanted to ask was, I know somebody commented on my last episode, and again, I will go back and respond to that, or in one of the episodes, but I know that, I'm wondering, that doesn't have anything to do with what I was just going to ask you. Wow. Sorry, random brain crumb. What I was going to ask you is, I know that people are starting to talk about HadeCon, which is happening in the UK in 2017. I would like to know, I know there are a few, and I don't know where they are. Are there big stitching conventions in North America? I know there are some get-togethers, and I know that some places have smaller, local-ish conventions, but I'm wondering if there are any big stitching conventions. I haven't heard of any. That doesn't mean that they don't exist, but I haven't heard of any. So if you know of any, I would be interested in knowing. And if you know of local things, feel free to post those too. Feel free to talk about those too. Particularly West Coast events. I know that there tend to be a lot more events on the East Coast, probably because people are closer together and they're concentrated more than we are out here on the West Coast. We're spread out quite a bit, and we have to travel quite a distance sometimes to get places in the same amount of time that it would take somebody on the East Coast, a much shorter amount of time. Or anyway, I grew up on the East Coast. I know that it's more concentrated population over there than it is on the West Coast in a lot of places. So let me know if you know about North American stitching conventions or get-together or cons or whatever you want to call them, because I would like to know. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to go to them, but I would like to know. And I think that that's really the only thing I have to talk about now. I think I've done it all. So, I will stop taking up your time. I will stop talking about random things and forgetting what I was going to say. I appreciate the fact that you've taken the time to listen to my video, to watch my video today. I hope that you are doing well, that you and yours are healthy and happy. I hope that you have lots of stitchy time this week and that you get your progress in and that you get your projects finished and that all of your stitching goals are met and that your plans for 2017 are coming together nicely. I may do a 2017 planning video on my next episode. I'm afraid to make plans because I will inevitably stray away from the plans, and I don't want to put pressure on myself to feel like I have to do what I said I was going to do, or else I'll feel guilty. So I don't know. I may do plans, I may not. I have things I want to do, and I may make a list of those and tell you what those are. We'll see. It's up in the air. It's up in the air. So for now, me and my talking hands will leave you. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching again. Bye, guys.